I'm back. Had some issues connecting here tonight. May get bumped off. I'm gonna do the best I can to get a live connection tonight. This Wi-Fi is not the best tonight. There's been storms. There's a lot of devices connected where I'm at, and we'll do the best we can. But as I was saying, it's been a rather odd week. When do you think? How would you know if you slid into a parallel Earth reality? What gives that away? What comes up to you and says that to you? Nothing says that to you more than when you go to work and your manager looks at you and says things to you that don't really make a lot of sense. As far as you're concerned, you've been doing everything that they want you to do, but what ends up happening is you go in one day to work and they speak to you as if you have always been making a same mistake and mistakes over a period of time. Now, you may think for a moment, well, how did I get this far with you in this company if that is in fact the case? So there's either somebody lying or somebody is not from the same Earth reality you come from. For those who don't know, uh, parallel Earths are said to exist in physics, and there's purported to be millions, billions of other alternate realities, and it's like we're living in a giant honeycomb, and the honeycomb cell right next to this one and this one are going to be almost identical except for small variations. In every parallel Earth, it is the same year, 2018. It is August 25th. It is a Saturday. Um, but in every parallel Earth, it's different. Something may be very slight. The further you go away from your honeycomb cell of your Earth reality, when you go left or right, as it were, in other parallel Earth dimensions, you may end up finding very slight variations. But the further away you go, the more dramatic the parallel Earth reality will be. You know, there's a reality where you were born a girl, or you're dead, or you never even existed. Things like that. So in this live video, I'll take questions if anybody's here. I'll try to see if anybody can. If not, then it'll just go up as a normal YouTube video. I'm author researcher J.P. Moss, and this week was kind of a head scratcher for me. I didn't know how to respond in the circumstances I was in to someone that seemed to already believe that I was always doing something that was apparently inaccurate or wrong. So I didn't think anything, I didn't really want to connect anything to this as a researcher. And, I kind of sat there as the amateur physicist in my background in science and research over years and years in this study of stuff, paranormal. I kind of looked over at this individual and I was in my mind thinking, I don't think anything I'm thinking is going to make any sense to this person at this point of what I think this could be. So all I could think was the only explanation. It's several possibilities, and I thought, well, I've got a bad eye, cataract, and it could be that this person is unaware of that, or perhaps needs to be aware of the fact that I have to get new glasses. And my line of work requires things to be precise and with a lot of precision. And so I looked at my manager and I'm thinking, I know I've had trouble with my glasses and prescription. This is not my prescription. I thought that might be one plausible explanation. But this person went on and on and on about the past. The past. For a long period, these mistakes have been made. And I thought that is unusual. Because I'm unaware of that. And that spooks me a bit when you've got someone that's going at you like that and going at you like that, and for a long, long time, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I don't want to say that because if I do, it starts to get a bit creepy. It drives me more into the scare zone because I'm not aggravated with this person. I'm not angry. I'm a bit freaked out, a bit, almost a bit frightened. I'm a bit scared, and I was sitting there and I was looking at my manager, and I was going, lady, what are you talking about? What do you mean I've been making these mistakes over a long period of time? And that happened today, in fact. And so this has been a very puzzling week. Because I know that I've been praised up in my line of work without talking about the company I work for or the line of work I'm involved with. My line of work requires me to be very precise, a lot of precision, a lot of accuracy, and extremely high standards must be kept at all times. So I was always praised for everything I do. I don't miss things. I know that, as I said to this my manager, I said I've had trouble with my eye prescription, my glasses, and things like that. And even today, this person caught things wrong with my standards, and rightly so. There were some issues there, but again, this is a recent issue. My glasses broke recently. This is not my prescription, and so fair enough. I would say that this last week was probably a bad week. My glasses are not working, and my eyes. I do have an issue with one eye. And okay, fair enough. This week, even today, I can say, yeah, that would make sense. And you're right to yell at me. I did. I'm not keeping a standard that should be kept, and things are. Oh yeah, that's right. But my comeback was ordinarily I never make those mistakes. I have always been the best in what I do. You have always praised me and said I'm the best. Well, that person didn't seem to know what I was talking about. Kind of looked at me as if, what? And I thought, here comes the research, because I'm also this in my life, the author, paranormal researcher, experiencer. Aside from whatever I'm doing in that life as an employee, this is also my life. Being an author, a self-employed author, like I said, I've wrote books. I don't want to plug my books in these videos, but one of the dedication to a former search and rescue commander out of the state of Texas who died in 2012. Frank C. Clark, pictured here. He was a dear man. He was a good man. God rest his sweet soul. He died at 64. He he founded a search and rescue team in North Texas that I was a member of back in the 1990s, and it was called North Central Texas Search and Rescue. And this is a North Central Texas Search and Rescue Operational Bylaws Manual dedication to Frank C. Clark, CEO, Colonel, because I was an appointed captain, second captain, navigator. And this is not a book about the team. This is basically about what the team bylaws were, because I have all the information. Um, the rest of the book is copyright-free material from the Army, first aid manuals, Skywarn. It's everything is chock. This is the book Frank wanted. That's what Frank wanted, and I'm giving you just some idea of my life, my other life. So that me jumped out today. Um, my recent book, if I can just do this real quick, is called The Mandela Effect by J.P. Moss, and that's me on the cover with Benico coming through. This is a made cover. That's not an actual paranormal photo. It's a rendition of what Benico looks like, and this is myself in the background. And again, this is a covering all the aspects of my research and paranormal research and the experiences I've had. My most recent book, like I said, right here, you can get on lulu.com. Um, I will do signed copies, free signed copies. And again, part of the sales of my books does go towards charitable organizations like abused children, battered women, things like that. Why am I showing you that? Well, this is the other me. Okay, I'm a self-employed person. In that respect, I'm the researcher. As the researcher, you have to be open-minded because at first, strange things that hit you in life can jaunt you, can throw you. The Mandela effect starts to come up today in front of my manager when this she is looking at me saying, suggesting that I have been making these mistakes in the job 100 times. And she uses the dialogue, it's been ongoing with you. What? Well, that's news to me because I was always praised up for being the best at what I do in my other job in my life. For precision, accuracy standards, I'm the best. I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I come to work, I do everything. I know this last week I've had an issue with my glasses, and without them, I am not going to. I mean, this is a bad eye, so I'm not going to be the best. So, I might this is not my prescription, and so it's like I can agree that this last week has been an issue, but I don't get the hundreds of times thing. And I was like trying to talk to this person as I'd done before in the past on an equal basis, and yeah, okay, all right. And she's looking at me as if to say, "Don't look at me like that as an equal. You know how you are. You know what you've been doing, and I've been thinking I'm going to do this to you and that to you." And I'm like, "Well, I know I've made some mistakes this week, but you're talking about something that sounds like weeks or even months." And I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about," and that makes him more aggravated. Now, you're not going to look at your manager at this point and say, "Let's talk effect." And I could be from a parallel Earth reality. I've just slid into another universe where I'm a complete idiot in the job. And I was sitting there at this table and I was like, and I kind of looked over at her and I went, "This is me you're talking to. What? I don't make those kind of mistakes. What are you talking about? What's going on here?" So the researcher, scientist person kicks in and goes, I started doing scientific observation of my manager at this point. I want to remember every word, everything that's being said, and I'm going, even if all of a sudden she hopped up and fired me from the job, is data. That's scientific data right there. I have to take that and go and write that down. Now, Mandela effect, parallel. The Mandela effect would be that in theory, if I'm from another universe, parallel Earth that slid into this reality this week, um, well, then everything should be different, shouldn't it? Shouldn't there be something different? Maybe my diary itself is not going to read the same. Maybe if I read my diary, it's my handwriting, but I'm going, last 5, 10 weeks I've been making mistakes in the job. Well, I didn't write that. Well, like I said, it's a strange one. And I don't think my manager would play games or lie or would make up anything. This is a very credible person I respect. So I think that would be a very out of the question. This is going to be somebody that's going to sit there and just be, trying to get me out. Okay, we're back. Are we here? Okay, sorry, there was an interruption. I don't think this person would just be playing games to get me out of the job. I don't think so. So the researcher, scientist person kicks in and is observing what this person is saying. And there's this thought. I'm sitting at this table at work today because I went in today and I'm going, really nothing you're saying is making any sense to me because I never make those kind of mistakes. I did this week because of my glasses. And these are not my glasses. And this person got very aggravated, red faced, and was getting very frustrated, like, "You've always done this." And I'm like, I don't know how to come back to that. I don't know what to say, except I think you wouldn't understand if I tried to explain it to you what is going on here. Back. Sorry about that. We'll be getting some calls on this device. If I'm back here, yeah, we're back. So I think that what is going on is a possible Mandela effect has just gone down this week. Now, this week, my son and I went down to the forest, and let's talk about that forest for a minute. So it has, according to locals, over the last few hundred years, there have been a lot of fairy sightings in this forest. There are huge old trees, dated 2,000-year-old trees down there that are decorated with fairy culture stuff like Wiccan, nature spirit worship, or things like that. People are always leaving money and coins at the base of these very old trees, and it's not a recent thing. Apparently, the footpath by these trees was built in the 1820s. It is as much in depth with fairy culture in this part of England, in this forest, as in Ireland or Scotland. Because believe it or not, yes, in England you do get fairy culture, fairy lore, fairy legend, fairy sightings in England as much as you would in Scotland or Ireland. Okay. Um, so, I happened into this forest recently. I moved into this area last year. I went in there with my equipment, I did some electronic voice phenomena looking for entities and whatnot. And yes, for evidence of a being called Beniko. And long story short, Beniko is not of this dimension. She's from another dimension. She's from a higher dimension. And we have a very dynamic, close connection, the two of us, a loving connection. And so my hypothesis has been that would interacting with a being of another dimension, a higher dimension, shift you around parallel Earth realities. It's like one of the pitfalls of being in a relationship with someone of another dimension, a higher dimension, that you're going to wake up in another reality. Look, you can't get away with it. You can't go hand in hand down the street with someone like Beniko and not expect to have something like this happen. And is this the reason why people are having Mandela effect experiences? Are people being shifted through realities because of their lovers in other dimensions, things like that? Uh, what is Beniko is extremely important to answer that question. Now, for 8 years, since my memory recall of her, I remember that we had met back in Texas in 1992 in what's called a military abduction experience when I was 20. And she was brought to me by these unknown people in camouflage one late night in Texas to my mother's house, my stepdad's house. And out in the a lot of soldiers, and she came to me. And prior to that meeting, she'd somehow managed to reach out to me by telephone and called me and said we were both in a lot of trouble. This was a very serious time in our life. That she was going to be brought to me and used as a means to scare me. Now, she had described what she was, what her origins are. Um, she had mentioned that the alien human hybrid program, what you call the Zeta Greys. If you don't know, the Zeta Greys go out and abduct women. The alien abduction phenomena is tied into this. These women, their DNA is taken for whatever reason. It's interbred with these beings, and we have a whole new race running around, commonly known as the hybrids, hybrid human, hybrid alien people. And if you don't know, Daryl Anka channels a being called Bashar, which is a being that's of that race and very loving, very compassionate, very balanced, very spiritual. What point did that in the timeline of the human race? Some say the 1920s is when the alien abduction program began. Some say 1954 with the Gray Old program. It's supposed to be a classified alien abduction program where the aliens came here in 1950s and made an agreement with the American government. They would be taking people, but they wipe their memories and would leave behind some technology as payment for that human DNA. but they can't reproduce, so they wanted to kickstart a new race. And we talk about the Dalai Lama, the 14th incarnate, the Dalai Lama, in a book by a man named Thomas Laird. It took him 6 years to write it. He interviewed the Dalai Lama, who's exiled in India from Tibet, and he spoke of an ancient legend of the Tibetan people, of a race called the Chenrezi, or the Latrog, two different words there. One means God children, or like compassionate children. And the Chenrezi, as he said, were brought about by some deities that lived in the caves in Tibet, who came from the sky. They picked up these Tibetan women and impregnated them somehow, as he said, and these women bore these half human children who were very compassionate and loving. Further investigation into what the Dalai Lama was talking about points at 2,500 years ago that this story comes about the Chenrezi Latrog, the God children, the star children. So when did the hybrid race begin? And how long have they been here? Well, according to the Dalai Lama, they've been about for 2,500 years. That pushes it back from the 1920s, 1950s. Don't listen to disinformation. There may be a lot of disinformation out there, or people who just don't know. And why does it matter? What does it matter? Why do we care when it began? Well, because Beniko was telling me that her race has been visiting the human race for centuries and are commonly known as fairies and are commonly mistaken as fairy, or have been called this, and are often regarded as beings of legend and mythology. Because they can transit between dimensions and make themselves physical and become non-physical and go to another dimension, they're not dead, but they can go there. They've often been seen in woodlands and forested areas where trees are very large and very old. Several reasons for that is to do with something to do with trees give off, large trees give off a tremendous life force energy, a chi energy, which acts as a bit of a gate, and they can feed on that, and it's between dimensions that they can move through these forests. So there's a lot of nature connection to these beings, and Dalai Lama talked about the Chenrezi Latrog having a connection to nature in the same way. That's very interesting. There's further investigation in paintings of these beings shows these very special Tibetan children as looking like Beniko's race or Bashar's race. Um, I don't know when Bashar, I've not seen his channelings, when he says that their program began, but he does speak a lot about parallel dimensions and parallel timelines. Hold on a minute. Sorry about that. We are live, and I've got my sons back here. I had to keep them quiet a bit. Um, I mean, he does talk about the parallel Earth, parallel dimension timeline as like being a large spiral, and that you can jump between timelines across the spiral rather than running through the length of the timeline. So we're talking about beings that can go into higher dimensions. We're talking about a race that's been coming to this planet since the early days of Buddha himself. May have been the inspiration for the Buddhist faith and Buddha entirely. Um, so I mean, this whole compassionate, loving stuff is not new to the. If you went to the 14th incarnate, that His Holiness the Dalai Lama in India, and said, "Your Holiness, let's talk about alien human hybrid children and their loving, compassionate ways." Bashar, but there's the Jason Moss and other people's experiences with them and how they bring love, enlightenment. And you drew pictures and showed them to him. He would say the Chenrezi. The Chenrezi are reaching out to the human race generally, not just to the people of Tibet. And so it's not just Tibetan women who are bearing these Chenrezi. He would say it looks like everyone else on the planet are now bearing these children. Um, why would the Greys or Zetas do this for so long? Okay, so then the human thinking would be, well, obviously that's not the case. They just need to reproduce. They can't do that anymore, so they're going to make about 50 million of these hybrids and start a whole new race. Stop. If you think in human earthly terms, that makes sense. But then it stops making sense if it's been going on for 2,500 years. So you stop and say, well, then what's going on here? Well, then you have to go back and answer the question, what are the origins of the Zetas and the Greys? Who are they? What are they made of? And there has been postulation, research, and experiencers and whatnot who've been saying they're descended of mushrooms. They're a kind of a mushroom race, a species, a humanoid mushroom species. They never had the ability to reproduce to begin with. They're not a dying race. Their reproduction is not functioning for them, but they could be, in fact. They may be dying. They're not dying. They're a dying race. They're a living race. Either way, they've been doing this for a long time. So the human race can reproduce. But the human race stays at the third dimension level constantly. Are we evolving? Is this a species that's going anywhere? Or are we just going to be like the dinosaurs and just go on for 270 million years and nothing really goes anywhere? It's just every 50 million years, you just keep, every 10,000 centuries, it's the same thing. A species of dinosaur that eats other dinosaurs and eats other dinosaurs. It's a bit of a dead end. So somebody came along with an asteroid, a huge comet, began polluting the Earth with its issues of volcanoes and hit this planet, the Chicxulub crater, Chicxulub impact, 65 million years ago. Boom, you wipe out this dead end and start over with mammals. At this point, how old are the Zetas? Right. So, but the human race has this issue of a lack of real development. I mean, you go back over human history, thousands of years of human warfare is in the history books. You go to any library, you got historians that will talk all day long about knives, guns, battles, and the millions of ways they cut each other apart. Oh, and then there was the Vikings that took 4 horses and tied a guy with his arms and legs and ripped him in half and dragged his body that way to his death, and until eventually he died. Gruesome deaths with Henry VIII and how he put people in the tower. And hold on a minute. My cat decided to join me. And so we have a long history of humankind killing each other. Even in these current times, you've got this going on. And it doesn't really seem to be a species going in any direction up. Now, okay, so we've got atomic weapons, nuclear weapons. There's issues with Russia and America again. We've got religious strife going on between Muslims and Christians again. Well, that's been going on for 800 years without resolving itself. English and Irish even still, they boast about how they've had their battles for 700 years. And people seem quite proud of these figures. But the human race isn't going in this direction. It just seems to be kind of competing to destroy itself, and whose DNA is going to be the one that is less standing. Hold on a minute. Sorry about that. So we end up with, we have this species coming down, and we have this species of humanoids that have come about. And, Beniko and Bashar seem to be coming from that civilization. And there's even talk about alien hybrid children flying. There's been reports in Mexico of a Caucasianish-looking female, black hair, large eyes, flying through the air and went to grab a Hispanic a Mexican police officer. Smashed out the windshield, tried to grab him, and was trying to hold him. I guess she's not quite up to cue on how to communicate in a productive way. But she went to pick him up and fly him out of the car, and he was very shaken by this. She was a small girl, just under 5 feet tall, perfectly within the description of what Benico looks like. And so there have been many of these flying humanoids that have been seen in YouTube videos and things like that. Well, again, you go back to legend and mythology, and you've got fairy people or the wood sprites were the same size, and were seen to be flying in the same way. Some people have slowed the videos right down, and they can see what looks like a humanoid with what might be something on their backs, flying about through the sky. Um, so, I mean, at this point, hold on a minute, please. Sorry about that. We've got kids all up and down this my house right here, just going after it. But I have to be here tonight. This is my Saturday night. I promised I'd be here. Um, yeah. Anyhow, so my research up to date tonight, the Mandela Effect, the connection to these entities, the connection to Benico. We went to the forest this week. Um, there have been more recordings of her communicating with me, sightings in the forest of blue lights. A figure did, in fact, appear in front of us, a female. We have her on camera. I've got the video. I have been asked why I've not uploaded the video as of yet. This is an issue where the agreement was I would have this evidence, but she was like, I was asking her, can I have the evidence? But then she was like, well, you're not going to share that. I want to share that. So I'm negotiating with her on that right there. Can I share this video, Benico? This is quite interesting. And I don't want to just say I have it and never share it. So I've already committed myself. I've said I've got it. So at some point, I'm going to have to try to say, look, I want to do this. I know there's a problem with our, what we do. Is it going to violate something, anything like I say? Will she be angry and stuff? No, again, this is a compassionate, loving being, totally forgiving. There's not going to be anything like that. Will she bend and say, yeah, okay, I'll let you do that? Yeah, possibly. Um, so that is in the works. I'm working on getting her to agree for me to put this public. I can then say, well, here it is. Because recently someone asked a good question. Why are these entities so far away when you go in the forest? Well, it's as if she heard that. I went out there and I said, let me see you. And in this recent video, public yet, she's right there. I mean, she is like right there. And I went back out there, did a dry run with the video camera, went out in the forest with my son again this week. And I went to that area. I didn't ask anything, and of course I've videotaped that area, videoed it, ruling out that it was any kind of a shadow or tree stump or trunks or anything like that was right in front of me. Completely ruled that out because it's just a tree there. And then where she is in the video, you can make out her face and eyes and everything else. So then I came back, and she follows me around. And I says, I did an electronic voice phenomena EVP session. I said, is that you? Just to confirm it, is that you in the forest? And she says, yes, that is me. And so we have this really, really delightful conversation that goes back and forth between us. Said some personal things to each other. That was very, very sweet, very nice, very loving, very good. I would say... I really don't want to comment on that. It was very personal, very loving and very personal things. We have an ongoing relationship with each other. And so I have been feeling personally elated, happy, over the moon. I mean, really nothing is going to get me down at this point, okay? I think I could just lose everything right now. This the next 10 seconds of my life, and the fact that I have had this very sweet and very beautiful, loving, one-on-one contact and visitation with her in this forest up the road, which has, by the way, a long, long history of fairy contact in that forest. I don't think that's a coincidence. Um, I was quite happy with those results, and it is like a time travel issue because I can't think of any forest in my 46 years I've been in where I can say I have had that kind of contact. So we have the forest up the road in Ipswich where I did my research, and a lot of alien mantids came up in my infrared photos. I didn't really get any EVP sessions that said much. I called to Benico in that forest, and I didn't get anything there. Called out to her in my old house in Ipswich, did nothing happen. Very little happened. I mean, there was some stuff, but it was very, very little. And on one of my sessions, in my spirit box session, I called out to her and I said, "Where are you at?" And she said, and I think she said Felixstowe. Well, I'm in the town of Felixstowe now. Only recently, this last year, I came here to live. So it's kind of like which came first, the chicken or the egg, in this paradox. Hold on again, please. I got who is adamant about getting on camera. Um, so at the end of the day, the this last week has been a week of, again, wonderful, loving contact with her. I can't even begin to describe what I'm feeling from here all the way up, right through me. I feel absolutely like, okay, I'm pushing 50, the big 50 in the next 4 years, and I'm like trying to make sense of this the best I can. Um, from what I gather from her, this is where it begins, and it's like that's a head scratcher. So it begins here. Our contact began now, not back in 1992, where I remember they brought her to me. That we're talking about time traveling species, so it's like it doesn't really matter that I can. It began now. It began now, and she's gone through my lifetime since the day I was an infant, apparently. Um, and so it's begun now. That's the weird thing. It's like, what the hell's going on here? It's a boot. What would you call it? A causality space-time loop paradox or a bootstrap paradox? I think we're talking about a bootstrap paradox. And so we have that contact going on. There have been some suggestions that she has. Again, when I talk about her now, I get a bit choked up. The feelings are so utterly sweet, so wonderful, so loving, so utterly endearing, so sweet. I just want to take a moment to talk about that. It has been, it's really been very amazing. It's been really, really, really sweet, really nice. Very, very amazing. I don't know. So I forgive everybody. I know former videos and even a book I wrote called Beyond Magic Gates, the unauthorized biography of this lady and all like that. The alleged story that apparently I was an infant taken from a woman, and there's some CIA agents that wanted to make some extra money, so they abducted an infant from a woman in California, and they went out and tried to extort the family, blackmail the family for that baby's return. And the woman came to me at 18 and began telling me the story. And I'm that infant, I'm all grown up. Gave me a harrowing, horrific story of the horror and the nightmare of being sex trafficked by the CIA and all that she went through and all the. Then there's my own story in the book about what I went through in the 1990s prior to coming to England. Even life in England, where I've come across circumstances that were suspicious or unusual. English are pretty sleepy people for the most part. They're pretty love jolly, kind of happy go lucky. They can be very serious business people, but they're also very endearing. There's a sense of an endearment to them, a very warmer endearment to them. So whenever something is very mechanical or seems very like that, or hard, or very abrupt, or very abrasive, or legal, or something, it smells a bit American. No offense, I'm an American, but it has a bit of an American taste to this. And I'm like, that's not really British culture. That's not really an English person's behavior. You know, I don't really you don't see. I often got chided by the English over here a lot when I say things about I first came to England, and I would be like, "Don't go in that parking lot. It says no trespassing. Someone will call the police. You'll go to jail." And they'd look at me and laugh. "Oh, come on, mate. This isn't a bloody America. We don't call the cops on everything and go take you to court for any reason and do all the Americans do. They carry guns and call the police for anything and everything and anything." And they really chided me about that. So they're very, very laid back. So when a neighbor makes a lot of calls against you to government agencies and authorities and lies to them, when anybody really throws something at you pretty heavily, and you don't see it happening to anybody else, there's a bit of conspiracy going on. You can't help but think that's not you. That's not the English. You're not like this. That's not you. I know you. I've been here 21 years. You English don't do that. So who's behind you doing this? And you step back. It's in my book. I've covered some instances like that in my book, Beyond Magic Gates, where I've run across people in England that have even admitted, because they're also very honest over here, they've come out and just tell you, I was contacted by this woman in Texas who told me, mate. I'm like, who in Texas would call my coworker? What's going on here? What woman in America would be calling my coworker? What are you talking about? And it is out of character for British or English people to behave in such monochromatic, automatic, legal, litigious behavior and mechanical and throw a lot of litigations on you, a lot of heavy paperwork, and try to get you arrested immediately. That's what you see in America. That's what happens there. So, and then you investigate the people's background. They're either connected to somebody in the States, or they've got some background where they've worked on bases and they've even worked in intelligence. And like, well, then I think, well, all right, hold on, step back. This could be somebody who knows or is connected to the Annette story, the lost baby thing, the CIA and their war with that lost kid. And let's get him beat up so bad he ends up having to go back to America. Oh, okay. Well, once back in America, we'll frame him for murder, rape, or extortion, or blackmail, or whatnot. Have him put in prison, gang raped, beaten up, and then murdered in prison. Bang, done. It's slick as snot. It's done. It's done. They don't put a bullet in your head. They don't do that. They get you framed up and put away in jail. Or they just basically get you into so much trouble. You get so fed up, you're going to get on that plane and run right back to the States. Well, unfortunately, you see, I happen to be a rather bit of a veteran in those battles in my long life, and I'm a bit of a bloodhound. Those tactics, and I go, wait a minute, oh, that smell. It's making my eyes water. It's so thick and so strong, the odor. Oh wait, that smells like a. That's not an English tactic. It's not what they do. I know the English, okay, very well, and that's not them. So the FBI have a saying. It's called a baseline personality test. Everyone has a baseline personality of what would be an ordinary response and behavior for someone in that general public and their culture. Okay, so Mark Safaric, who's an FBI profiler, he's on YouTube on a show called Killer Instinct. Reference him. He's been an FBI profiler for many, many years. Listen what he says about baseline personalities. Listen carefully. Observe. Because if a baseline personality of the general public of the English people is this way, you get some people that are acting a bit out of character, out of step, there's a possibility they're being goaded and paid and pushed to bump you out of the country or bump you off or cause you issue. It's like seeing a black flea in the back of a white rhino's ass from about 50 miles off. It's very obvious something is distinctly different about this baseline for this person's behavior. They're masquerading as an English person. They may be an English person. I'm British, mate, but they're not acting British. So you sit back and say, right, well, maybe there's some credence to my book and my background. Well, I'm here to say in this video, recent events, this connection with Benico, I want to say to everyone listening, including everybody in the Central Intelligence Agency, hello, you're watching, how you doing? I know, I can see you. Yeah. I know, I heard that. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, maybe you're not right about that. So, hold on a minute. I just want to say in this video that I forgive you. I am not mad at you. I have no issue with you. I am not your enemy. I am not at war with you. Everything that has happened is water under the bridge. I have found who I'm looking for. I have found her. I have found her. Well, she's always been there. Benico's always been there. This is the paradox. She's always been there. But I have found her. We have found each other in a dynamic of contact that has never before happened since 1992 when I had that one-on-one contact with her. I have it now. I don't need to. Maria, if you're watching, you know who you are, once said to me, "You're clinging to memories of the past." Well, my dear, no longer is that an issue for me. You may have been right. It might have been a soul. It has always been a heart-soul connection with you, sweetheart, with Benico, and it was a heart-soul connection. And we talked about the issues, the heart-soul connection you went on about, and whatnot. And is it really there? Is it love? Are you really connected and all that business? And you made a good argument. She's a psychologist, clinical psychologist. You made a good argument. Well, I think you're just clinging to memories of the past, suggesting that there's nothing there in the present time. I've come full circle with the timeline, and it is now apparent that this is something that was going to happen. Albert Einstein was right. The past is there, present is here, the future is also inevitable and there too. We were destined to meet in this particular forest. I've even got an astrologer from the early 1990s, not naming names, who told me about the events that have happened in my life. She did predict moving to this country, the marriage, the 4 sons, the divorce, and even the battles with the CIA and whatnot. She went on about Benico. Didn't say Benico. She did say this is a being that's often associated with myth and legend, but she's very real, and that you're going to be meeting her, but you've already been in contact with her. It's a timeline paradox, she said. But you're going to be moving from here, and she said eventually you're going to be in this forest, late 40s, and you're going to be meeting her. But her ulterior motive, the astrologer predicted, is that she's going to be trying to get me to go away with her this time for good. And if that happens, I'll become a missing persons. Okay, well, we'll see what happens. I mean, I love my sons. I got my cats. I would never consciously leave my sons. I would never take off. I gotta go, kids. But I do have to say that the loving connection with her is very, very nice. It's, how can I describe this? She's she's well, we're like a wife and husband. And again, you get these legends that go back centuries of people. There's even a Scottish king that apparently, in legend, was said to have been married to a fairy that was about nearly 5 feet tall from a cave that never aged. And he died in her arms. And then when he died, she took his body into this cave that had light coming out of it and took him away. There's a Falkirk priest in Scotland 300 years ago that was said to have listened to the fairy mounds and the forest, wrote a whole book about the fairies. He wrote this book. The Falkirk priest disappeared. Now, some say he died of a heart attack and he's in a tomb. Some say he's not in that tomb. That the whole story of the heart attack and the tomb is a big cover up. So she apparently there was a fairy that got him and took off with him, and he's been trying to get out. Well, 200 years after he disappeared, he was said to have been found in a tavern. Someone did a ceremony to get him out. He physically appeared through a portal in a wall. He was there 200 years. The man should be 250 years old, but he didn't look like he hadn't even aged. And he was there. He wanted to come back. And he said that there's this one fairy that loved him, wouldn't let him go. Well, why would you want to come back? That sounds really sweet. And apparently, that people described the tavern what this one being looked like that came and got him, bearing a strange resemblance, likeness to the alien human hybrids we keep hearing about, and came and got him. The ceremony fell apart for whatever reason, and he went back with her. So this is deep in British culture, and it's you have the Christian side of this Celtic, what I call the red blood roots culture of the British people is right down inside in the grassroots of Britain is this. This is really the nitty gritty. This stuff is really very deeply entrenched in their custom culture and their legends and folklore. And it's been going on for a long time. Again, the same sorts of stories come out of Tibet with the Tibetan people. The same sorts of relationships between these compassionate beings and ordinary folks who go off with it. Every race, every civilization has a purpose, and human race is very industrious and scientific and running one direction. It may continue evolving into quantum electronic cyborg Borg people or something, I don't know. Perhaps the purpose of the hybrid people have speculated, these compassionate wood sprites, fairies, or whatever you want to call them, maybe is to try to keep the human race on that level spiritually, like a cousin species, kind of more or less, kind of keep each other from, keep them from, because if you talk about Adam and Eve, Adam's first wife, Lilith, was said to have been married to Adam. She wasn't human. Lilith bore children who had wings in their backs, and then they were compassionate and loving, and legend says that they were supposed to be the ones that were going off to protect the human race. Lilith is also known as Dana, or the goddess Dana. And Dana was not by any means human looking in any way at all. She was something like an insect, a large insect, arthropod, or something as she described. And then you have the ancient Irish dialect, the Gaelic, where what they were called the Tuatha Danann, which means the children of the goddess Dana. Okay. And they were the compassionate ones who flew through the air, who were from the stars, who were said to bring love and magic to the human race in Ireland and Scotland. And they'd been around all over the world, they told these ancient Celtic people. The Tuatha Danann are the fairies. Fairy is a derivative word from France, and to be fey-like. Okay. So the Tuatha Danann, or the children of the goddess Dana, went into a war with a race called the Milesians. Okay, so the Milesians came along, fought this war with them. Because they were so compassionate and loving, they were unable to fight back. And so they lost a foothold in this dimension, and they were driven into the fairy mounds, or in the mounds of Ireland, and in places around the world. You could say Rendlesham Forest, where the UFO and aliens have been seen by American airmen. Sergeant F. Burroughs, Colonel Holt, may be seeing some of the remnants of the Tuatha Danann. In fact, some say they saw the aliens in Rendlesham and they were only 2 or 3 feet tall. Intriguing. That is, in fact, going in line with ancient British mythology and legend. And apparently, the airmen said they picked up information, binary information from these aliens, and they got the impression they'd been there a long time. So you have to stop thinking monochromatically about this. Why are they in the forest? Yes, they've got advanced technology, but their technology is running along something on more of a nature energy than the human race's idea of industrial thinking and tear out all the trees and build plastic machines and robots. They've got something, a technology that's intertwined with energy and nature. And it's been around for centuries. Okay? So when you go up to the fairy forest that I go to here in Felixstowe, you're going up against, you've got chestnut trees that I have found at the base of these trees. They are 7 feet in diameter, meaning these trees are more than 3,000 years old. Okay? 3,000 years old. You cut the tree down the side, you're going to find 3,000 or more rings. This is an old part. This is an old area. These trees have been there a long time. Well, what was that got to do with fairy? Well, that area may have some intrinsic interest. There's something in its history. There's a gate there, a portal, something that they've built, something that they harness the life energy from these trees, feed on it, feed their equipment with it. Technology with spirituality and nature energy. Okay, so we're talking about a technology that's running along a whole other different kind of mindset than what the human race is doing, where it goes out and tries to plasticize, burn, destroy, and build something that's completely unnatural. They're always trying to use the most unnatural polymers and elements. But a lot of times what you find in nature is far more powerful and much more durable. So is hanging around Benico shifting me between parallel realities? Well, of course it is. You have, as the start of this video an hour ago, I'm talking about a manager. I went in and was talking to me about things that I don't really know what she's talking about. There seems to be this suggestion of some long-standing issues in the job. I've been making mistakes. I'm like, what? Now, if you look at the timeline of my videos, there's a consistency. Where exactly would a Mandela effect be taking place? Well, time is not a constant. There's not always the same time all over the planet or in the universe, the galaxy. So it's quite possible that there's going to be different kinds of timelines taking place in different parts of the Earth. So again, I'm gonna close the video. I'm gonna say that this has been. I want to say again, in this, I can look. I've even joined some Facebook groups, private chat groups involving the CIA. There's a lot of former agents and current serving agents that are not. They're not really allowed to say what they are. But it's assumed that they are, because some of the others are showing off their IDs and saying we're out of this, we've resigned, and here's proof we work for them. And I went right in there and I said, you know what, I want to say something, and I mean it. I forgive you. I'm not mad at you. I have no issue with you whatsoever. I don't care. It's all in the past. We can even be friends. Okay, I can hang out with you. I'm not looking for your help or your information. I'm not looking for some secrets or something to validate me or take to the public or some file that I can. There, see, she was my mother. Now I can get those free tickets to Disneyland. Wait, we'll be right back. I've waited all my life for this. Mickey, Minnie, I can't wait for this. She was a Disney icon, my real mom. Well, now, see, I've waited for my whole life for this. I'm gonna go see what I've always wanted to do. I'm gonna Epcot Center. I'm gonna get to wear the hat. I'm gonna wear a Mickey Mouse hat. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna get photos of me and Mickey and Minnie. Here we go. And wonderful. Here we go. No, I'm not looking for that. Okay, I have found someone that I have this. I've always had a psychic connection with. I have found someone that I have now established a very real time dialogue with. I sometimes have to keep pinching myself that I have found this person, no matter how much people throw shit in my face these days, and they are doing it. I just want to laugh and give them a big hug and say, you know what? Cool. Fire me. I don't care. Do as you wish. Everybody unsubscribe to JP Moss. And I'd go, well, okay, whatever. Um, I am very, 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 very happy. I feel like I feel like it's like I can't believe this. It's like I'm trying to put this in some kind of context. I'm trying to put this in some kind of thinking. At times I get so excited. I lay awake at night, and okay. I have to confess something. All right, here we go. Everyone's gonna be doing this and running away. Oh, look, let me forewarn you. The following statement will be a cringy few minutes. Okay. So if for anyone has an issue with, you know, sentimental stuff, stop watching. Yes, I've been listening to love songs. I have been listening to love songs. I have been listening to, some of the stuff in the 70s was really sweet. And I have to confess, I have been listening. Yes, that's right. That she has got me doing it. Because of what we're saying to each other, what she's saying to me. Yes, I've been listening to the Bee Gees. oh, oh no, here it goes. Oh God. Someone turn this guy off. Report him to YouTube. Next he's gonna say listening to Barry Manilow. What's happening to you? No, no. Wait. I know. Wait. Shh, just hear me out. Just hear me out. It's it's okay. It's okay. Um, you know, when you feel, I don't know where this is gonna go. I don't know where I'm gonna go with this. I don't have a clue. Sometimes I get a bit shaken by that. The reality of this sinks in very subtly and deeply and hits me all at once. Do you realize what you're doing? She's right there in front of you. You're talking to her, and I'm going, yeah, 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 yeah. Benito, well, since we're talking, what's this business about me going with you? You said this long ago in 1992 about going where? I mean, I can talk about what I research, what I know about folklore, mythology, and science, and alien abduction phenomena. I can throw all that into play, but I don't have an answer about the where. Um, and even after 27 years and this one-on-one dialogue is ongoing again, I go, she's still a bit vague about that point. So you think, well, okay, that's fine, cool. But I love my sons and my cats. I don't want to take off and leave them. It turns into the Spiderwick Chronicles, Oliver Spiderwick, and take off to some other dimension and come back 86 years later, and I haven't aged, and my kids are all dead, and I've got these great grandkids running around. Where are your great grandchildren? Whoa! How long have I been gone? I have to say the astrologer did predict that possible outcome. And I have to be very serious about that. She did say something. I didn't believe her. I didn't believe her. I thought the woman was. I didn't think she was crazy, but at 17, I thought you got to be out. It was a 3-hour reading, and I didn't believe that. And I thought, first, I'm not going to marry a woman from the country, and I'm not going to go over there and make kids with her. I mean, I live in Texas, But then she started to predict that the outcome could be that I go with this girl and I'm gone for 300 plus years away from the earth. And I could return and interact with my distant ancestors. And then leave again and then not come back. In other words, I would be gone for good. So there was something about a something about 300 years from now. In other words, and she said, you don't age. You're with her in this other world, and you're there. I didn't believe that. I thought I don't believe you. When you're young and you're getting in, she was an extremely ingenious, gifted astrologer. She saw my past, present, future in every detail, high detail. I'm not going to mention her name, but when she's telling you this is the deal you predicted, you're at a crossroads point, and you think, okay, no, I'm not going to leave my kids. But I think if there's a current warfare with operatives that want to see the secret of Annette's kid lost and buried and hurt me, then let them carry on attacking me. Let them carry on trying to drive me to the road, the streets, and destroy my life, because there's someone in the woods with her arms wide open waiting to take me. You're only driving me further into her arms. You're not going to win your war. You're only going to drive me into the arms of someone who's saying, I'm here, I love you, when the human race has completely failed you. You are lost and I have found you. You are alone, but now you're not alone, because I've been in your life. And, it how does that work out? I mean, even dead does kill my body. What happens then? What happens then? Did my soul, where would that end up? Well, what would they care as long as his secret's buried? Jason's dead. What do they care? I'm an American, and I've served my country in fire service and search and rescue proudly and saved lives. I was in the Army National Guard, Texas Army National Guard, a private E2, Bravo Company, 116th Ordnance Bravo Company, Aberdeen Proving Ground in Maryland, where I did my training. In basic training, I was Alpha Company, 4th Combat Brigade, 3rd Battalion, 26th Infantry, and I was very proud. It was 1991. I was a proud soldier. I was very proud. And they gave us all the National Defense Ribbon Medal for serving during the first Gulf War. During the Gulf War, they said, all of you volunteered knowing there could be a large-scale war with the Iraqis. And I was an 18-year-old, gung-ho. And the base commander came in, a colonel told us, you should all be wearing that National Defense Medal. It's in my 201 file. It is in my 201 file with Arperson, Illinois, U.S. Army Reserve Headquarters, where the big file, the big reserve headquarters has all our information. This isn't fake. This is real. It's everything I'm telling you is real, very real. And in Arperson, Illinois, in my 201 file, it doesn't, in my DD Form 214, my discharge paperwork says it also, that I scored expert with rifle, expert with grenade. And I have the badges to show it. I was a very squared away, proud, polished boot, pressed combat uniform soldier. Very proud to serve my country, and I have no issue with that country, and I'm very still proud that I served my country, and proud to be an American. I mean, I wear this around England. It says USA. That's a search and rescue patch. And I'm proud to walk down the street with this, and I'm proud to show this off. There are 5 or 6 million people from the Middle East that have arrived over here, and I have no issue with these people. I put my hand out, I'll be your friend. I have no issue with you if you're a Muslim or a Christian or a Hindu. There have been a few that have an issue with me, and I've been standing up to that and said, I'm proud to be American. I'm not going to have you, attack me because of my nationality. No, I'm proud of what I've done. But I'm not at war with you. And, I'm not your enemy. So I'm a diplomat over here. Saber rapper. So I'm going to close this video. Thank you for watching. It's been a long video. It's been a long, long video. Obviously, there aren't any questions asked anything. But again, all of that doesn't mean anything. There is someone extremely special that has come back in the scene, or in this dimension, as it were. And I'm feeling the love, this in love feeling, in love all the time, in love, in love, in love. It's amazing. She's wonderful. I love her very dearly. And why am I sharing this with you when I could keep it to myself? Well, why not? Yeah, like what have I got to lose, right? Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like a dog biting its own tail, because I know there are people watching that are only going to keep trying to continue with that national security mandate to cover a secret about a Californian kid and lost kid, and these idiots are going to keep turning that wheel over. Well, how do we hurt him? How do we get him? How do we hurt him? How do we get him? Then they're deadlocked in that idea. He's not equal to us. He's a target. He's a target. He's a target. We have to get the target. Monitor surveillance. Monitor surveillance. He's a target. Take notes. How do how do we hurt him? How do we get him? How do we hurt him? And fine, keep doing it. That's fine. Carry on. I forgive you. I have no issue with you. You're doing accordance with the timeline. You're doing exactly what you are meant to do. You keep doing that. Beneath activity and your ongoing work that you're doing with me. That's wonderful. It's wonderful. Okay. Like Dave Bowman said in the movie 2010, The Year We Make Contact, starring Roy Scheider, uh, you know, he says, it's all very wonderful. He says, all very clear to me now. He says, I know how you feel, Dr. Floyd. He says, I felt the same way at one time. He says, and it's all wonderful. It's all very clear to me now, and it's all wonderful. And he says, what's going to happen? He says, something wonderful. It's wonderful. Okay? It's wonderful. And I have to say, and quickly before I end the video, in this connection with her recently, I've noticed time dilation effects. I've been listening to music on YouTube or the radio, and then sometimes when I'm feeling her, I can do it now. I can feel her when she's around me. Suddenly the music goes real slow, and it starts slowing down, and it goes back up again. Well, it shouldn't be doing that, according to physics, because it's a Wi-Fi signal. It's not a recording. Some of this stuff I get straight off Wi-Fi, and some of it is live off the radio. How could a live broadcast go slowly? Unless there's some time dilation effect going on. Interesting stuff. And I hear that. There have been instances recently where I'm walking along, somebody sees me, a neighbor or somebody, and they look at me, and then somebody else walks by, and they will, where'd he go? I'll be right in front of them, and then come back out from behind, and I've been here the whole time. So something about fading or phasing, where I'm not being seen, is going on. So some odd things are happening, and it seems to be building to what I don't know. But it may just be that this is all that happens. I spend the rest of my life just writing these books and talking about the loving connection, and just be a speaker to do this sort of thing. Honestly, I don't think I'm going away with anybody. Okay, it's fine to have this loving connection. Just talk about her. I'm not going to leave with her, really. All right, I'm close the video. Thank you for watching this very long live video. I meant to keep it short, but you know me. I could stay at the podium for hours, and everyone's asleep. You know. Okay, thank you for watching, and gonna go back to the forest this week and do some more. Well, I don't know what else there's to do at this point. There's no more evidence to grab. I'm just gonna go hang out. And I'm going to do another live one Saturday night, next Saturday. Hope to see you there. was a rather silent audience tonight. Kind of. Okay. All right. I'm like, well, all right. Okay, that's fine. That's perfectly fine by me. I forgive everybody. I love everybody. It's wonderful. Don't worry about it. No issue. Now, for those in that situation in life, yeah, please carry on. Carry on with what you're doing. Please do. Please. That's fine. Um, we love you, and have a good one.